Hi everybody, Jordan Blotcher here, aka the Sports Card Lawyer, back again with another video to help you navigate the sports card investment scene. And today, what I wanted to talk to you about is comparing trend lines for one player with similar cards, because there is a way for us to glean really important information from looking at the way some cards trade relative to other cards. So to make that point today, I'm going to be using two very similar cards for one player, and that player is going to be Joe Burrow. So the first card that we're going to be looking at in this video is the Joe Burrow 2020 rated rookie Donruss base in PSA 10. I've talked about the rated rookie base in a few other videos that I've posted so far. They're highly liquid. They're great cards. As soon as you want to move them, you're able to. There's always going to be a market. There's always going to be demand for the rated rookie commodity. So it's a great place to put your money generally as an investment piece if you're, going to be looking to increase the exposure of your collection through trading. You're going to have various opportunities throughout the year where you're going to be able to trade this card. And then the second card that we're going to be looking at is very similar to the Donruss rated rookie base. It is the Optic base in PSA 10. You'll see that that one also has, the rated rookie stamp on it. And that's what makes these very similar cards. And so when we look at the Donruss base and the Optic base against each other, we're able to notice trends in the way the Optic trades relative to the base and vice versa. And we're able to find great buys by spotting that there's something going on in the trend lines that indicates that one of them is underpriced or one of them is overpriced. And so I'm going to explain in this video how to look at two trend lines and come up with those conclusions for ourselves so that we can make more informed buys. So when you look at these two trend lines, you'll notice that, first of all, the rated rookie base trend line is slightly upward sloping over the course of the year. That's because of this very large spike where there was a large number of sales during the postseason last year. We had Burrow mania of sorts, and so all of his cards show a tremendous spike and peak from January through early February of this year. We see it in both the rated rookie graph and we also see it in the Optic base graph. And so something that should catch your attention immediately when you look at this is the way that the graphs correspond to each other. As soon as the rated rookie spiked right here on January 29th, we also saw a comparable spike right here within 1 to 2 days for the Optic base. And so they're sort of paralleling each other. And so we expect to see that long term. When one of them goes up, the other goes up. When one of them goes down, the other goes down. But if we look at on these graphs, we have the ability to see, on any given day, when both of the cards sold, where were they trading at relative to each other? What was the ratio? And so what we see when we look through here is, right here on October 13th of 2021, we have 4 sales of the Donruss base and we have 1 sale of the Optic base. And what we see here is that the Optic base traded at about 2.3 times the value of the Donruss base. And so we say, we keep that in our head. Okay, 2.3 times. We look around. Here's another one. We have 144 and 275. All right, that's around a 2-to-1 ratio where the Optic is trading at about double. We keep going. Here again, we see 131, 275. That's about double. Here we have kind of an anomaly. We have it trading at almost 300% because the Optic spiked a little bit at that point in time. And so, when we look across our data pool here, we see, here we go again, another a little bit over double. And That is true of this trend line across a wide sample size. The graph sort of tightened a little bit about around Super Bowl time when the spike was happening because people were willing to pay a lot for the Donruss-based PSA 10, and so here we're looking at about a 1.5 to 1 ratio. But over the course of all of last year, the optic base was trading at about 2 times the rated rookie base. And so if you saw that the rated rookie base was trading at $100 and the optic base in PSA 10 was trading at 140, then that would be a buy signal for the optic base in PSA 10, because what you would expect to see is that optic 10 would be trading at double the rated rookie, aka $200. So if you saw it for 140 and you thought it was worth $200, that would be a really great opportunity for you to swoop in and buy the optic 10 and be able to grab what appears to be 30% unrealized value in that optic-based PSA 10. But now let's take a look at the graph more recently. You might notice that earlier last year, there was a pretty large gap in the value of these two cards. There was a lot of space between the lines. However, when we look at the card today, we're seeing that graph has narrowed. For example, right here on July 13th, these cards were selling at almost the same price. The Donruss base was selling at 143 and the optic base was selling at 150. So under those circumstances, one of two things must be true. Either the Donruss base is overpriced, and it should actually be worth about $75. That's the first option. Or the optic base in PSA 10 is dramatically underpriced and should be worth about $300. So when we ask ourselves about the first question, well, do we think the Donruss base was overpriced at 143? Probably not. It was trading below its trend line at that point in time. So to say that the card would only be worth $70, there's not a single sale over the past year and a half where the Donruss base traded at $70. So that certainly doesn't seem to be true. However, the optic base has certainly traded well above 150. It spent most of last season trading above 150. It spent a lot of time in the $250 to $300 range. And so at that moment in time, the optic base PSA 10 at $150 is an incredible buy. And you'll see that somebody managed to get it at that floor. Somebody managed to pay attention and execute a purchase for the optic base at $150. And what was the next sale? 1 week later for $272. So that person who realized that the optic base was trading $120 to $150 below where it should have been trading relative to the Donruss base, that person was able to buy the card at $150 and then immediately make $120, which is almost a 100% return on his investment at that moment in time. And you can see the prices have come down a little bit since then, but still today the card is trading at around $230 is the most recent sale for it. And so if you recognize that the card was an amazing buy at $150, you had an opportunity to make a lot of money. And so we don't even need to think of it as just, well, do I think that this card is a good buy on its own in isolation? We have tools that we can use to compare one card to another card, especially when those cards tend to correspond to each other as directly as the Donruss base and the optic base tend to. And if you take a look at other players, if you look at Josh Allen, his Donruss base versus his optic base, or you look at Patrick Mahomes, the Donruss base versus the optic base, you'll notice the same trend. You'll notice that in general, the optic tends to trade around 2 times as high as the Donruss. And so if you're paying attention to these graphs over the course of a year, buying and selling opportunities will present themselves to you. You just need to be paying attention, and so that's how you can utilize these trend lines in order to find other buys. Besides just looking at, is the card trading below trend line or is the card trading above trend line, these trend lines are useful for a lot. And one of those functions that they have is comparing similar cards to one another, like what we just did with the Joe Burrow Donruss and the Joe Burrow optic. So thank you for tuning in. Drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm looking forward to making a lot more content for you guys. I'm looking forward to interacting in the comments with you, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.